Yeah, they tell you that you should quit trying. You were too small, that you were too young. They tell you the chance is too slim, the world is too big, but you say how come? I'm ready to light a new fire, raise a new flag to cross a new sea. And if I'm never the one in your way, then put your head down and run right through me. I keep settling for so much less. Don't take what's given, just demand what's next. Open door, so we didn't see before. So we get out of here. Plot twist that we didn't see coming. We're looking for an open door, so we didn't see before. And when we get out of here, we'll never stop running. It's something like a shadow in the valley, colossal. Open up your eyes, young one, and be watchful. Behind closed doors, trying to write a new gospel. They are not God, they're not even apostles. I come with the dumb drum banging you breathless. Enemies freeze, left bent and defenseless. Straight for the chest of anybody against us. The more they resist it, the more that they tempt us. I keep settling for so much less. Don't take what's given, just demand what's next. We're looking for an open door, so we didn't see before. So we get out of here. Plot twist that we didn't see coming. We're looking for an open door, so we didn't see before. And when we get out of here, we'll take off and never stop running. So I keep settling for so much less. Don't take what's given, just demand what's next. We're looking for an open door, something we didn't see before. So when we get out of here, plot twist that we didn't see coming. We're looking for an open door, something we didn't see before. And when we get out of here, we'll take off and never stop running. No, no, we'll never stop running. No, no, we'll never stop running. When we get that open door, no, no, we'll never stop running. No, no, we'll never stop running. No, no, we'll never stop running. When we get that open door, no, no, we'll never stop running.
All right. The definition of the Chicago Bulls: you lose against the 4-11 Orlando Magic, and you come in, beat the best team in the NBA your next game. So, the Bulls have won against the Celtics in 2 of their 3 matchups. I don't know what it is about this Bulls team, but they beat the Miami Heat when they didn't have Zach on opening night. You come out and you beat this Boston Celtics team twice now. So already this, like, you look at, the matchups against the good teams. I mean, you were very close in that game against Philly. I mean, this Bulls team seems to show up when it's the hard matchups, but when it's the easy matchups like the Wizards, the Spurs, and the Magic, they decide to fold. So I don't know what it is about this team. They have given up games that they should have won, but then they win games that they're not supposed to win. So you're 2022-23 Chicago Bulls, everybody. This is definitely going to be a roller coaster of a year. Yeah, what a odd game. But I appreciate everyone that's already here. Good Bulls win tonight. And I'm glad that at least some Bulls fans are at least still kind of sane about this team and not just thinking, hey, let's tank right now. Because this Bulls team, as you see, when they actually, put it together, they're a pretty decent team. They're not amazing, they're not perfect, but they're pretty good. As you saw against this Boston Celtics team tonight. What's going on, Magugla? I see Luke, I see Sam. Viper Strike, good to see you again. Yeah, I see you guys have already kind of started talking about some stuff. The Bulls came out and absolutely, just from start to finish, dominated this game. I mean, just look at this here by the lead tracker. So Good job by the Bulls to actually come out, get off to a good start. Celtics are definitely shooting themselves in the foot early on. They had like 4 turnovers in the first 6 minutes, so that helped the Bulls a lot. But honestly, I mean, you just look at everything like on the stats. Bulls won the rebounding battle drastically. They won the turnover battle. Fast break points, the Bulls won that as well. Points in the paint, the Bulls won that. Second chance points, only give up 8 second chance points to the Boston Celtics all game, which is great to see. And I'm going to talk about this in a second, but as I've said so many times on this channel, points in the paint is so important for this Bulls team when it comes to the defense, right? I've said it so many times. The Bulls have to protect the paint first, then you defend everything else, right? You protect the paint first, and then force perimeter shots for the opposing team. The Boston Celtics tonight, they were 19 of 50 from three-point range. They shot 38%. They definitely had a poor first half shooting-wise, but they made 19 threes tonight. But they only put up 107 points. Why? Because the Bulls only gave up 34 points in the paint. The Bulls were, all night, forcing the Boston Celtics to shoot perimeter shots. That's how you win games. Like, you have to obviously contest every shot, but I am very willing to give up a three-point shot instead of a layup. That's how you have to defend every single night. This is the formula for this Bulls team to win. And we saw it tonight, and against a very good three-point shooting team in the Boston Celtics who jack up a bunch of threes, they made 19 threes tonight, only 107 points. That's how you win in the NBA right now for this Bulls team. This is the formula on defense. Protect the paint first, everything else will work. But let's get to the chat here. I want to talk about a couple of things. First off, I saw some people talk about Patrick Williams not playing or closing out the game, even though he played very well. In my opinion, I think this was the right move by Billy Donovan. I know Patrick Williams had a great game, but when it comes to closing time, we've seen so many times where Patrick just kind of folds during closing time, starts to be hesitant to take his shots, and then seems to kind of not be in the right spot. So I was fine with this. I've been kind of already saying that Caruso should kind of be the one closing, or should somehow always be in the closing lineup, whether that's for Aya or P. Will. I know P. Will had a great game today, and you saw him really have some good isolations against Jason Tatum. But at the end of the day, I'm rolling with Caruso for now, at the very least, because Patrick has gotten his chances to close games, but we've seen that he's folded, unfortunately. So I thought that was a good move by Billy Donovan to do such a thing. Appreciate it, Starboy. I appreciate that a lot. Other thing I wanted to talk about, Magugla kind of brought up Bucks on Wednesday, which is obviously a big game for the Bulls. Who guards Giannis? I think it's going to be Patrick Williams that's going to start on Giannis, but I think we're going to see Andre Drummond get some time on Giannis, especially when Giannis plays the 5. I think Drummond has the size and the mobility to stay in front of Giannis. Obviously, no one can stop Giannis. I hate when Bulls fans start saying, like, we need no one to guard Giannis. Well, guess what? The other 29 NBA teams do not have anybody to guard Giannis either. So, we have to make things as tough as possible for Giannis. But that's for the Bucks game. Let's move on from that subject for now. And then Luke brought up Kobe, and he got some increased playing time because Goran Dragic had to leave the game early with a stinger to his left shoulder. So Kobe stepped in and played with the second unit. And Luke brought up that he needs to find a shot again, which I totally agree. Kobe needs to find a shot. Obviously, he was out for a long time with that bruise to his thigh. He is back now, but it's been a while since he has kind of looked like Kobe White on offense. And we saw him hit a 3 today. We saw him get a big layup today. But he definitely needs to be more consistent. But as Viper Strike and Luke have talked about, his aggressiveness is always something that I love about Kobe. And it's something that is definitely useful because we've seen too many times on this team where guys are hesitant to shoot the ball. Well, Kobe's not hesitant at all. So Kobe is going to let it fly no matter what happens. He's going to, if he's open, he's going to shoot it. If he's has the lane to the rim, he's going to drive it, which is good to see by Kobe. No indecisiveness on his end, but obviously he needs to find a shot and stay in control because there are too many times he was going a little too fast when the Bulls needed to slow down. And then other stuff, Magugla brought up DeMar shot 3 of 3 from three-point range, which was crazy to see. So yeah, that was definitely interesting to see that. The Celtics were just kind of letting him shoot it initially, and then they started to double him. So it didn't matter, unfortunately, for the Celtics. So DeMar brought it on the offensive end tonight. And then other stuff we wanted to talk about. It's crazy that we missed so many Vucevic mismatches on offense too. Could have had so many more points by Sam. Yeah, I think this was one of those games where the Bulls definitely were missing Vucevic. I thought Vucevic had a great second quarter. The Bulls were finding him consistently in the second quarter in the post against a smaller matchup, whether it's Derek White, even Jaylen Brown, right? The Bulls can give it to Vucevic in the post against anybody on this Celtics team because they don't have the size to match up against Vucevic. But the other thing I will say is this. When the Bulls look for Vucevic, they need to do a better job of clearing out because there are too many times where I see Zach has the ball and he's actually looking for Vooch, but then there's someone else also in that same corner when they're trying to post up Vooch, which is like he needs to clear out. So that's something that needs to be worked on. That's just recognition by everybody. So I think that's the next step for this Bulls team is to, when they look for Vooch, clear out the side. Don't let someone stay in a strong side corner when they're trying to post up somebody. So that's kind of where things need to get better. But good game by Vucevic tonight. He had, I think, 12 points, I believe. But it was 6 of 7 shooting, but had 6 assists. And he did his job tonight. So good job by Vucevic tonight. And yeah, he definitely needed more touches down low. That was definitely something that it was unfortunate to see that the Bulls didn't take advantage of more, but they got the win, so they did just enough. And then Noel said, "I feel like today's performance with a few defensive polishing up gives us the current ceiling of this team." I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, it all starts on the defensive end for this team, which they started out well to start the season, but then obviously they've fallen off a cliff in this losing streak. During this fall off the cliff stage, I mean, we're talking about 60 points given up to the New Orleans Pelicans in the first game, 58 points given up to the Denver Nuggets in that blowout win for them, and then it was like 48 points or 46 points to the Pelicans again, and then against the Orlando Magic, I don't even know what it was, but it was bad. But yeah, it all starts defensively for this Bulls team, and if they can do good defensively, aka protect the paint first, you're gonna see good wins like this. So good to see that by this Bulls team to finally show up on defense, because my God, we haven't seen that in a while. Magugula says, good win, a few missed layups from Ayo, but active on defense, especially in Brown and Tatum. Yeah, and you know what? I'll take those missed layups by Ayo because he made up for it with a couple of great layups as well. And obviously his defense has just been great all season, and he's been playing great. And I don't have any issues with Ayo. I know he's kind of lost a shot recently, especially for three-point range, but that's something that I expected. So he's still being aggressive. He was the only person that I thought showed up in the first half against the Orlando Magic, so no issues there, honestly. Let's see here. The scoop layup by Ayo was crazy. Oh, definitely, yeah. And I'm going to bring up that play, actually, because it showed that this Bulls team on offense was actually moving off ball very effectively in this game, something we haven't seen in the past 2 weeks. So I want to bring up that clip, and I'll bring it up on my YouTube TV here. But either way, it was just good to see that this Bulls team was actually seeing, hey, all right, when Vucevic is in the post, or when anybody has the ball, they're able to cut through the Celtics defense to move the defense around and get open shots for other people. That's what it takes for this Bulls team to win. If everyone's just kind of standing there, that's not going to work. I've been saying that this Bulls team might need to go back to isolation a little bit more, but when you go to isolation, people have to move around you. And I thought the Bulls, whether it's Vucevic posting up, whether it's Zach LaVine having a one-on-one, or DeMar DeRozan having a one-on-one scenario, the guys were moving. And that's so important for this Bulls team to win. Because that's how the role players get their points when the big three have all the defensive attention. Yeah. And Luke brought up Levine's last three, which was awesome to see, and the confidence booster for him. Let me just say, I had full faith in Zach LaVine to return and come back and have a good game tonight. I feel like this is something that we should all expect from Zach. Anytime he does have a bad game, he tends to have a great game the next game. Zach did not shoot the ball well tonight, but this was easily Zach's best all-around game all season. Easily. And this is the reason why I hate when I see all these things, all these overreactions after one game. People are talking about after the Magic game with Zach that well, if he's not scoring, what else does he give you? And in that game, yes, when Zach wasn't scoring, which he wasn't, he sucked. I mean, the dude wasn't giving any effort on defense. He was turning the ball over. He wasn't doing anything else. But in this game, we saw him. He was very engaged defensively. He had a lot of good defensive plays, especially on-ball defense, which is definitely his strength. And he was very engaged defensively. But the biggest thing, when his shot wasn't falling, especially in the first half, he was pushing the ball in transition. He was finding guys for good shots in the half-court offense. He can do other things. It's up to him, though, to bring those other parts of his game when his shot isn't falling. And he definitely didn't do it against the Magic, but he did it tonight. And then, obviously, when you're still in the game, and Zach's going to still score, even when he's not having the best shooting night. I thought he picked up some fouls that were not called correctly. That charge he picked up was not called correctly, in my opinion. But either way, it just shows you that Zach can do other things. So this whole notion that he's only a scorer, I think, just needs to go out the window. We saw it tonight. Zach can be an effective player even if he's not scoring the ball. So that's something that just needs to be looked at. And just that this whole narrative that he's only a scorer, it just needs to go out the window. Just overall, I mean, look at the stat line. I mean, we got 22, 5, and 5, but 2 steals. He had 3 turnovers, which, I mean, I'm going to take one off because that last 8-second violation was on Io, in my opinion. But either way, you have 5 assists to 2 turnovers. And one of those turnovers was also a charge called against him, which I didn't agree with. So it just shows you that this dude can do other things when he's not scoring the ball. And then the other thing I want to point out is this. Zach and DeRozan, they have to shoot the most shots on this team. Even if it's not the best shot, these two guys have the best opportunity to score points on this team. Even like what I don't want to see anymore is guys like Alex Caruso taking like close to like the 12 shots a game, or seeing Javonte Green have to shoot like 10 shots a game. Right? You don't want to see that on this team. DeRozan and Levine, they've been averaging like around like 17 to 18 field goal attempts per game. That needs to be in the 20s, in my opinion, because you see it tonight. They're the guys that can make the tough shots. What I don't want to see is too many, or seeing guys that really can't make shots taking a bulk of the shots. These are the guys that need to shoot the most. Obviously, Vucevic should be 3rd, and then Patrick Williams should be 4th. But these two guys, they have to shoot the most shots. They did that tonight, obviously. With 24 and 20 from each of them. So this is good to see by this Bulls team that the pecking order was reestablished and not seeing guys, taking more shots than they should. So I know a lot of times you're gonna, everyone's gonna say, "Ooh, tough shot by Zach" or "tough shot by DeMar." You have to live with it because this is this Bulls team. That's their offense. That these guys can create something out of nothing. So you have to live with this type of stuff when it comes to these scores. And with this Bulls team not having much help on the offensive end around them, you live with it. So yeah, good job by Zach to bring his all-around game tonight after probably his worst performance of his career against the Magic. This was easily Zach's best all-around game tonight. Shot wasn't falling, but it was being effective everywhere else on this game. This is how Zach can be effective off when he's having an off night, shooting-wise. So just good to see by Zach. To respond after a pretty bad game, and then obviously his whole comments with Billy Donovan and everything. Let's just be clear: Zach's entitled to have one bad game. He's obviously coming off a knee surgery, and then, I mean, just think about all the times he's been so consistent for this Bulls team. Like he's gonna have a bad game, and this was the bad game against the Magic tonight. He responded, so just really good stuff tonight by Zach, and congrats to him. He's out tied with Ben Gordon for second all time in threes for the Bulls franchise. So Zach will surpass that probably next game, and then he's on to Kirk Hinrich next, which is always crazy to say that Kirk Hinrich leads the Bulls in 3-pointers made in franchise history. Captain Kirk. So yeah, just overall good stuff tonight by the Bulls. And I want to bring up a bunch of clips here that I think are very important to look at, because you saw tonight how active this Bulls team was defensively. The Bulls were willing to give up perimeter shots to this Boston Celtics team. I mean, think about it. Al Horford tonight, I mean, the dude shot 0 for 7 from 3-point range. And Al Horford is obviously a guy that can make threes, but if we're giving up an Al Horford 3 instead of a Malcolm Brogdon or a Jaylen Brown layup, you take it. That's exactly what you want. Obviously, you have to contest it. Don't give up a wide open shot, but you give up that sort of shot. instead of a Jaylen Brown drive to the rim or a Jason Tatum drive to the rim. That's what you do against the Celtics team or any team, honestly. Don't let the stars get easy layups or don't let anybody get easy layups. You have to force the opposing team to shoot perimeter shots. But that's that. And really just all around good defensive performance by the Bulls. People are talking about Magugula just brought up Alex Caruso 4 steals. Yep, Caruso had a phenomenal game in my opinion. He was called for a foul against Jason Tatum late game. That was not a foul against him. I don't know what that was with the officials. But yeah, 4 steals, which is great to see. Just a typical Caruso night for him. And then 11 rebounds for Drummond. Yeah, Drummond, man, that dude just gobbles up rebounds, and that's exactly what we need for this Bulls team, and he did just that. So good job by Andre Drummond tonight as well, coming in and just dominating the glass and not giving up the Celtics, giving the Celtics any second chance opportunities. You guys talk in chat for a little bit here as I start pulling up some clips. It's good. I just want to point out here for this Bulls team, like, again, we need to just relax about this team and potentially tanking. Like I got a comment on my YouTube channel after the Magic game. Like, people legitimately think like, hey, it's time to tank, and I've been telling people like, no, it's not. Like, if you want to tank after this season, you know what? Fine. But again, the Bulls don't have their first round pick or full control of their first round pick for next year's draft. So there is just no reason to tank this season. And I just think that a lot of people aren't exactly understanding this Bulls season so far. Mind you, the Miami Heat, who were supposed to be contenders this season, they're 7-11, just lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. Like, I don't see people, saying, hey, blow it up, Miami, right? I don't see that. And I just think that a lot of people are just, they're flat out just panicking after just a rough stretch for this Bulls team. I'm not saying this Bulls team has played well, but it's not time to just hit the tank button after just this little rough stretch. Because, I mean, this Bulls team's in 11th, but we're 3 games out of 5th. Like, it's all right. We'll be okay. I honestly believe that this Bulls team will be just fine, and we're not going to be, woefully out of the playoffs at the end of the season. I think that's something that a lot of people just need to just relax about, and let's just take a deep breath and understand that, hey, it's going to be all right. I know this Bulls team's has had some rough patches. Obviously, losing against Orlando Magic is not good, but it's going to be okay at the end of the day. This Bulls team has too much talent to be thinking, hey, let's tank this season, even though we got off to a rough start. A lot of seasons, just saying, like, a lot of teams, they don't start really evaluating themselves until 25 games in. Like, that's when you really start thinking, like, okay, should we actually start hitting the reset button or not? We're 17 games in. Let's just take a second to just relax and not panic about this Bulls team. It's gonna be okay at the end of the day. Yeah. So I'm glad that other people are seeing in chat. Sam specifically, like, you don't tank this season. Like, if you want to tank next season and you're a Bulls fan, okay, you know what? You have an argument, but not this season. It's not happening this season. And in my opinion, I actually think it's very important that this Bulls team doesn't tank for a while, or even it probably shouldn't tank ever in their career, or for like the rest of eternity. But that's just my opinion, at least. I think this Bulls team will be perfectly fine if they don't tank. So yeah, I'm trying to pull up a clip here. So just bear with me for a second. Yeah, let's just leave the tanking conversation out of here for until next offseason, in my opinion. One thing to note, again, let's say this Bulls team won against the Washington Wizards, won against the San Antonio Spurs, beat the Orlando Magic, like, we're looking at the season completely different right now, right? Like, this Bulls team has been in games against the top teams in the NBA. They've been effectively in games in every single game, obviously until recently, against the top teams in especially the East, but even in both conferences. Like, it's interesting just all of a sudden to see, like, hey, we're actually, staying in some of these close games, and now people are like, hey, let's tank it. Like, I get our record sucks, but we just need to take a chill pill about it. So Sorry, I'm trying to pull up this clip here. So I wanted to talk about here specifically how the Bulls were guarding the Celtics tonight, and it's time to bring out the Epic Pen here. If it would load, there it is. So we're gonna roll this back a second here. All right. So I said in this game again, points in the paint, right? Celtics only got 34 points in the paint tonight. Okay, this is the biggest thing to me is the Celtics only got 34 points in the paint when they hit 19 threes and scored 107 points. That's how you prevent teams from scoring a bunch of points, even if they're hitting threes. You can still protect the paint and not give up points in the paint, and they're not going to score that many points because they're relying on a 3-point shot. Let's watch this possession here for this defense possession for the Bulls. Okay, this is exactly what the Bulls were doing all night. All right, we're going to see Jaylen Brown here. He's going to get a little stagger or down screen to get a little step on Ayo Dosunmu, and all of a sudden right here he has a step on him to go drive baseline. All right, as he drives baseline, look at what Alex Caruso is doing. Okay, he's coming over to stop this drive from Jaylen Brown. He's leaving Jason Tatum, arguably the best player on the court tonight, wide open. Right, he's leaving this dude. This is a superstar. This is the best player on the court tonight, wide open. And the Bulls were doing this consistently. It didn't matter who it was. But Alex Caruso comes on over to stop the drive from Jaylen Brown. Because if he doesn't come on over, that's an easy layup for Jaylen Brown. I was a great defender, but he got a step on him from the screen. Jason Tatum right now is wide open, right? But you see here, you force Jaylen Brown to pick up his dribble. They have to swing the ball back out. And as this ball is being swung back out, you're seeing Caruso is running straight back to Jason Tatum to cover him up. But you see here, Grant Williams decides, I'm going to set a screen on him. And if you do that, especially in the painted area, you're probably going to get called for a legal screen. And he sets an illegal screen on Alex Caruso. And it's called offensive foul. And the Bulls get to stop. Instead of that being an easy layup for Jaylen Brown, that's a turnover for the Boston Celtics. Right? And even let's say Jason Tatum somehow gets the ball at that moment, and there's no illegal screen called. You just took a Jaylen Brown layup away for a Jason Tatum open three. Again, you take that. I understand it's 3 points, and Jason Tatum's a great 3-point shooter, but we're not talking about Steph Curry here. We're talking about Jason Tatum, who again, superstar, but you take away the layup. You don't want to give up an easy layup in the paint. This is what the Bulls did all night, and this needs to continue. Because this is how you prevent teams from absolutely wrecking you on the defensive end. This is how it needs to go for this Bulls team. You have to do this every single night. And Alex Caruso is probably the guy that is yelling at these guys and is most likely the on-court coach that you need to consistently do this. The Bulls did this all night, and I'm very, very pleased to see this, especially tonight against the Celtics team, which the Bulls for some reason have their number. Other point to note is this. The Boston Celtics don't have much size, right? They may have bigger forwards than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They're bigger than all of our wing players. But they don't have a big man that can just straight up post up a guy, no matter who it is, and catch the ball due to his size and just take advantage in the paint. That's why this Bulls team pretty much matches up pretty well against this Celtics team, because even if they do have Robert Williams isn't really a post-up guy, and he's only 6'8", 6'9". So this Celtics team, like if the Bulls are going to have a first-round matchup, I want this team because this Bulls team defensively can match up with them much, much easier compared to a Giannis or a Joel Embiid, right? That's what's so important with this Bulls team is to keep guys on the perimeter when you can. With the Celtics team, you can definitely do that because they're very perimeter-oriented. Sam and Viper, they're talking about free agent destination for this Bulls team. I totally agree. This is the reason why you don't tank, right? I'm not saying that this Bulls team is perfect right now. This Bulls team definitely has issues. There is a lot of issues with this Bulls team. They have too many offensive-oriented players, especially for their stars. They don't have any 3-point shooting. But you can still win games even if you don't have the best team assembled and fit isn't perfect if you have talent on the court. And the Bulls have talent. They have talented guys on this team. And that's how you make yourself a good destination for free agents. it is so vital for this team to stay relevant, because who knows when the next star wants to become available, and who knows when you can go after some of the top tier free agents in a free agency class. This is how you take advantage of those opportunities, is by staying relevant. I'm not saying trade your draft picks, because I still think drafting is actually very important, but you need to hit on those picks, whether they're mid to late first round. Hit on them. You need to draft well, and there's always talent in every single draft. And for this Bulls team, it's like they had to accelerate themselves to get talent. So trading, the 2 first-round picks for Vucevic, it looks like a horrible trade now, but you're still seeing talent is available. They went and got it. That's important to me. And then that shows the rest of the league that if talent wants to be, if you want to assemble talent, the Bulls are a team that can go do it. That's why it's so important, in my opinion. Bulls will be the top free agent destination if the weather didn't suck. I think they should be a top free agent destination no matter the weather. This is a big market. Like, I understand that the weather sucks, but we've seen players go and play in Utah. Like, we've seen players, like, it doesn't matter what the weather is. I know, places like Miami and Orlando look very, very enticing because of the weather, but how many times have we seen players go to New York, right? It doesn't matter what the weather is, honestly. It really shouldn't. If you actually build a team that is, or you're actually showing the NBA that you're willing to pay them for talent, go get talent when it's necessary, and be a winning culture, the weather shouldn't matter at all. But at the end of the day, I mean, I know that sometimes that factors into some of the decisions at all. For some players, I should say. But overall, it really shouldn't matter. Just because we're on this topic, man, like, I brought this up in my last video. The 2024 free agency class, I keep bringing this up. This class right here is very, very loaded with players. I'm talking, it is loaded with talent. Talented players that have to go through free agency, specifically. I mean, we just saw Jaylen Brown tonight, and he was the best player tonight for the Boston Celtics. But he has to go through free agency. He has to, because the only way he's going to get a max contract is if he goes through free agency. It's the same thing with Zach LaVine. Like, people were talking about trying to extend Zach. You can't extend Zach or give him a contract extension last season, because his previous contract is not that much money. It was only $19.5 million. So you can't extend it because the next contract's only going to be 175% of his previous one. Jaylen Brown's in a similar situation. He has to go through free agency to get that max deal. The Bulls should be calling him up consistently in 2024, saying, hey, we got money, we're willing to pay you a max deal, come to Chicago. It's an opportunity. Another person that is going to go through the exact same thing is DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray is on a very, very, very team-friendly contract. He's an all-star. The only way he's going to get a max contract is if he goes through free agency. The Bulls should be in his ear constantly saying, hey, come to Chicago, come play with your buddy Zach, because we're willing to pay you max money. You're an all-star caliber player. You're an all-defensive caliber player. Come play in Chicago. We want you here. And then other players in this free agency class. Pascal Siakam, he's going to be hitting age 30, which I know some people wouldn't exactly like that, but he's hitting free agency. Fred VanVleet's hitting free agency. Domantas Sabonis hitting free agency. Spencer Dinwiddie, same thing. Like, there are guys here that I'm willing to pay max money and also some decent money that could help this Bulls team tremendously. And if you're wondering about this Bulls free agency situation or salary cap situation in 2024, well, I'm here to tell you, man, this Bulls team has money to spend in the 2024 offseason. Because even, wrong button. Even with Zach LaVine and his max contract, I mean, this is all the Bulls have on their cap. This is it. This is all the Bulls have. Even with Zach LaVine's max contract, Lonzo's not even fully guaranteed, but he's probably going to accept that player option due to his injury history. But Alex Caruso's not fully guaranteed. You add in Io's contract, which is, again, if you watch my videos, the most amount of money Io can be making this season for next season and this season is $10 million. So, or it's going to be around $10 to $11 million. So that contract's not going to be that big. this Bulls team has all the money in the world if you renounce all these rights that you have. And I know that DeRozan, it kind of sucks seeing, DeRozan have to go. But, I mean, just saying, if I can get DeJounte Murray here, or if I can get Jaylen Brown here, like, sorry, DeRozan, I'm letting you go. So, this is what I'm looking at right here for this Bulls team. And you have to stay relevant for you to even have a chance to get these guys. We're talking about practical cap space of $75 million. You move Lonzo Ball's money, we're looking at close to $90 million in cap space for this Bulls team with LaVine's contract and Ayo's contract in play. Also, Patrick Williams has to be re-signed, but we don't have to worry about Williams' extension until we sign all these guys because we have full bird rights on him, and his qualifying offer, again, is not that much money. So, just saying, man, like, there is some serious cap space potential here for this Bulls team 2024 to go get some of the best talent in the NBA. That's the reason why it's like we can't tank, in my opinion. We just straight up can't. Think about the LA Clippers before they got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, right? You got a decent player in Tobias Harris, who probably should have been an All-Star that season, who then I believe was actually traded. By the way, you're playing as a team with Lou Williams, you got Montrezl Harrell, you got all these good role players on the team. They could have 100% said, hey, we're not making the playoffs that season, right? They didn't have full control of their pick. And here's the thing, if they just didn't make the playoffs, they'd get their first-round pick. But they decided, no, we're going to make the playoffs, we're going to play hard, we're going to be a winning team. And they made the playoffs. They took the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant to 6 games. You want a free agency pitch? That's one hell of a free agency pitch, is playing hard and being a winning team, even when you probably should lose to get that first round pick. This Bulls team, I don't see this Bulls team currently constructed getting very far. I mean, when you have Vucevic and DeRozan and LaVine together, it doesn't work. But you could still be a team that looks enticing to other free agents. That's what's important, in my opinion. And this is Chicago that we're talking about. Like, one of the biggest markets. You should be in every single free agency class when you have cap space. And I'm talking 2024, man. This is when we really see if Akin and Mark Eversley are actually a good front office. This is how we're actually going to see it. Can they get guys to come here when they have the money to do so? They did it in one offseason. They did it last offseason with DeRozan and Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso. They did that once. Can they do it again? That's going to be really my test to see if the front office is actually going to be a good front office or not. Because if they can't get some of these best guys to come on here, that's an issue, in my opinion. Who would be your dream pickup? Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown would be my number one guy. But I also understand that with Jaylen Brown that he probably wants to go play with Boston again. He can get the most money there. But I'm telling you, then my number 2 would be DeJounte Murray, because I think DeJounte could play 1 through 3, so put him anywhere, honestly. But him and Zach together, don't you think that would be a fantastic duo together? DeJounte is one of the greatest defenders in the game right now, perimeter defenders. Like, the dude's an all-star right now. We've seen that he can play alongside other all-stars right now with Trae Young. Like, that'd be my guy. That'd be my number 2 guy for this Bulls team. And then number 3 would be Pascal Siakam, because I think this Bulls team would tremendously benefit from an athletic big man like Pascal. But I think this is important to look at if you're a Bulls fan. I'm not saying it's perfect. Like, I'm not saying that it should be you're pumping yourself up with copium and saying okay, we're 100% striking on 2024, but this is something to look at. It's definitely something to look at. Extremely good backcourt, bigger upgrade from Lonzo and healthy too. Yeah, DeJounte. I could put DeJounte on anybody on the perimeter. I feel comfortable. He could play guard 1 through 4, in my opinion. And his 3-point shooting hasn't increased, but the biggest thing for me is that he can also create his own shot off the dribble. He's not just a guy that's a catch and shoot guy. Or just solely a defender. DeJounte can do everything. He can run the pick and roll. I think that's a serious upgrade over Lonzo, and I understand Lonzo's such a great player, but Lonzo can't create off the dribble. This is something that DeJounte can do, and we're getting the same defense, right? So, something to look at, man. DeJounte being my number 2 guy. I would want Jaylen Brown, but I just don't think that's possible. But that doesn't mean don't try. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now for this Bulls team. And again, you can't tank if you're gonna look at doing this. There's no reason to tank. And if you want to get rid of the big 3 but don't tank, that's also a possibility. I know it kind of sounds like, wait, what? How do you do such a thing? But when you trade the big 3, if you trade the big 3 that is currently on this roster, you need to get guys back. And I'm talking like you're not just draft picks back. Like, you need to get actually solid players in return. That way you're still relevant, still getting good draft capital, but still playing well. And then you're still being a winning team. You're still going to lose more games because you just lost all those guys. But that's how you don't full out tank, right? If you trade your best players, you still get good returns of quality players immediately, not projects or draft picks. That's how you stay relevant and completely change everything without full out tanking. You want teams that have done such a thing? Look at the Boston Celtics before they got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, right? They were a team that stayed relevant even though they weren't winning. Like, they didn't have that great of players, and I know the draft picks helped, but they stayed relevant. And they got Gordon Hayward to come to play in Boston and sign with Boston because they were a relevant team. They stayed relevant. Even though they weren't winning that much, they still stayed a relevant team. They still stayed around the playoffs because that's how you build that culture and stay a relevant team. You don't full out tank even when you trade your best guys. Like, they traded Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Jason Terry, but they stayed relevant. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what the best teams do. And you don't see the best teams just full out tank a year. It just doesn't happen. And I think that's incredibly important, in my opinion. For this Bulls team, just to, even if you get rid of the big 3, like you trade Levine, you trade DeRozan, you trade Vucevic, you get solid players in return to show that you're still trying to win. Maybe you're not going to win a lot of games because of lack of talent, but you're still trying to win. You're still going to be fighting for that playing position. That's enticing to free agents. That shows that you're building a winning culture. But fallout tanking, man, I'm telling you right now, the Thunder, and SGA's got off to a great start. If the Thunder decide to just sit SGA for the rest of the season and just say, hey, we're going to tank it out, no one's going to OKC. And I understand OKC's not an enticing place, but no one's looking at OKC on their radar and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to OKC, right? That just doesn't happen. What the Utah Jazz are doing right now after trading their best players and they're actually winning, like, there's going to be people actually considering, hey, maybe I go to Utah because they're a winning team right now. And yes, they don't have the best talent, but they're still quality players over there. You're not going to be going into a tanking situation and trying to completely flip it. There's at least a foundation. That's important. So I just think Bulls fans, like, this whole tanking idea for Wembanyama when we don't have a full control of our first round pick, and then saying, okay, then we tank the next year as well. Like, there's just so many things that can go wrong. We could fall back to 5 in both those drafts. We can pick wrong. Like, it happens. That's not something I want to go through. And who knows, man, you could pick correctly and then pick a bunch of players that are injury prone, and then all of a sudden your entire thing is ruined. Look at the Detroit Pistons right now. Cade Cunningham might be out for the entire season with his injury. Can you think about how hard that is going to be on the Detroit Pistons, that you may have your star player out for the entire year? Like, that sets your rebuild back an entire year. Like, they've done a great job. They drafted Jalen Duren. Like, they drafted all these guys. But if your franchise cornerstone, all of a sudden, that you have put full faith in, is out for an entire season, I mean, we're looking at your rebuilding being completely screwed up. Oh, like, your rebuilding schedule is screwed up. Like, that Detroit Pistons team, their rebuilding schedule just got pushed back a year because Cade Cunningham might be out for the entire season. That's what can go wrong in a rebuild. You don't want to do that. So I straight up say you don't tank. You should just never tank. This is the reason why I always respect the San Antonio Spurs. Even last season, the Spurs, they didn't tank when they probably should have tanked. Like, they're not a team that attracts free agents. They just traded DeJounte Murray. Like, or sorry, they didn't trade it. Like, they didn't play well. or they didn't have all the talent in the world, and they're like, no, we're still gonna play. We're gonna come here and we're gonna play hard every single game, and they made the play-in tournament and lost. I respect that a lot from franchises that don't have big markets surrounding them. Obviously, the San Antonio Spurs are a storied franchise, but that's a franchise that is not going to tank even this season. And even this season, man, I mean, like, just they're 6-12. They got off to a hot start, but I guarantee you they're going to be in the play-in tournament or around the play-in tournament somehow at the end of the season. Now that I got that out of the way for people watching, why I don't think the Bulls should tank. Going back to this game, the biggest thing for me in this Bulls versus Celtics game, this game shows that this Bulls team can play up to a standard every single night, right? They're kind of talking about this on the postgame show initially. Like, this Bulls team can play this way every single night. But how do you get to play this way every single night? Like, even if you play this way every single night, you're not going to win every game, right? But what I don't want to see this Bulls team is getting down by double digits every single night consistently and having to try to claw their way back and go up a mountain and still somehow come back, but then, you spend all that energy doing so. If you play this way, you're putting yourself in position to actually be in the game throughout the entire game. That's important. And I don't know who it specifically falls on. I think part of it falls on the big three. And also looking at guys like Zach and DeRozan, like, they have to be all-around players. I'm not saying they have to be the best defensive players on the court, but they have to give effort on that end. And I thought DeRozan honestly didn't give much effort on the defensive end tonight. But we saw tonight with Zach that Zach was being good defensively. He was engaged defensively. He was in the right spots on rotations. That's good. And that's how you stay at this consistent level of play every single night. You're not going to win every game, but you're going to be in every game if you play this way. So against Milwaukee Bucks, you're probably not winning that game. There's a lot of things that are against you against the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, Giannis being the best player in the world hurts you. But if you play this way, the way that you play tonight, who knows, man? Maybe Giannis has an off night. Maybe maybe Drew Holiday doesn't show up. Maybe there's someone on that Bucks team that is injured that night. That's how you take advantage of those types of games and potentially steal a win. Is if you're coming out and playing at this level, you can come in and go on the road against one of the best teams in the NBA and steal a game. That's important. You need to come out and play well every single night. I think it's on the first unit when they saw our second unit picked up their slack, and so they became complacent. So when our second unit doesn't cut it, we are double screwed. I totally agree. Yeah. That second unit, man, with Zach and the bench guys, they've played great. But you can't rely on that. And at Viper Strike, you're 100% correct that the first unit was kind of just like, oh, we got the second unit. We'll be fine. Like, that can't happen. So it's probably on the first unit to set the tone. And be like, no, we're playing hard from start to finish. We're going to be engaged in every single defensive possession. We're going to follow the game plan that's being presented to us. And guys have to stay disciplined. They just have to. So it's on the first unit, and it's also probably on the coaching staff to be like, we can't get off to a slow start. Like, you can miss shots, but not playing hard defensively, not running the right offense. That's something you can control. Missing shots, that's something you can't control. But you have to be playing the right way, and that's what the Bulls did tonight. They played the right way. And you do that, you're going to stay in the game, no matter what. So when it comes to, this upcoming road trip that's going to be extremely tough on this Bulls team, 6-game road trip, you start in Milwaukee, you end against Sacramento, who's playing very well right now, and you face the Warriors, I believe, too. Like, this is not an easy road trip. I believe you're facing Phoenix, too. But going on this road trip, if you play this way that you played against the Boston Celtics tonight, and even if the opposing team has a great game, you should still, at the very minimum, you're finishing that road trip at 500 because you played hard and you played the right way. And it all starts at the beginning of the game. You have to come out and not get down early. As great as our second unit is, the first unit should not have the mentality of they can do as much as we do. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And I specifically, I don't want to, just call it one player because, again, it's an entire 5-man unit, the first unit. But I do think DeMar, at the start of a game, he needs to play better. Like, even in this game with DeRozan, he didn't start out good. He shot 2 of 7 to start the game and was just taking some ridiculous shots. That was just like, what? A lot of short shots as well. Like, DeRozan, his numbers this season, when you look at on-off, like, it doesn't look good. Like, when DeRozan's in any lineup, it's been basically a negative rating, net rating. So I think he's got to be the guy that can get this first unit off to better starts and set the tone. Because he's an all-star. He can get this offense going and look to find guys a lot better and get them going to start the game. Zach comes out early. Zach doesn't have much time to get the first unit going. Zach has to be the leader of the second unit, and that second unit has played great. So he's doing his job. But what about DeRozan when it's just him on the court? But it's just him running the offense. So I'm looking at him, and then I'm going to always be calling out Donovan for lack of post-up touches for Vucevic. Yes, in tonight's game, we saw the Bulls miss Vucevic a lot in the post. That's on the players a lot tonight. But there's got to be better plays run for Vucevic to get good post-up touches, get good post position, and get easy buckets, or drawing double teams when he posts up. That straight up just has to happen, and I think that's on Donovan to run better plays, because you're seeing too many times that the Bulls try to run a post-up play, but you're getting the ball to Vucevic too late in the shot clock. Like, it's 7 seconds left to go. He needs to get that ball early. I'm talking very early in the shot clock. I'm saying with 14 seconds left to go, so that he has time to back down his defender and draw multiple defenders, or back down his defender and score. He needs that time, and the Bulls just aren't giving him that time right now. That's on Donovan, because there's just these plays that are being drawn up, man. It just seems like it's a pick and roll, swing around the perimeter, set up for them Vucevic to post up. That takes too much time. You need to find a play where it's very simple, little cross screen, set it up, and then whoever sets that cross screen comes up and goes up a zipper action to draw the defenders away from Vucevic. That helps you give Vucevic easier shots, or easier post-up positions and easier looks at the rim. So I think that's on Donovan, and that's something that the Bulls can employ early game. Something that they can be like, all right, we're going to go and play through Vucevic early to start the game. That way we don't get down early. And then get him going, and that should open up everything else for the rest of the team. But something that the Bulls don't really do, typically, right? They don't typically look at posting up Vucevic throughout the entire game, honestly. And it's on Donovan, in my opinion. I really do. I really do think that's on Donovan. Other thing I want to point out, I made a video on this, but I scrapped it. But right now, for this Bulls team, to get better offense for this Bulls team, they need to start scoring in the paint more. I brought this up in my last stream. Currently, the Bulls are in the bottom 5 in points in the paint per game. I understand this Bulls team does have 3-point shooting. I understand the spacing isn't the best. We don't have those shooters to open up the lane as easily. But I don't care how poor your shooting is. You could still score in the paint, especially when you have a 7-footer center that is an all-star caliber player. Like, straight up, this Bulls team should not be averaging 44 points in the paint per game. That's inexcusable. That needs to go up. And that's something I think Donovan can do to raise this, is post up Vuce. If you post up Vucevic, you're getting more cuts to the rim. You're getting post up touches for Vuce that he can score in the post. That's points in the paint. That's how you score points in the paint. And again, the Bulls don't have spacing. They don't have the 3-point shooting, but they can create spacing by moving off ball correctly. And we saw that a lot in this game against the Boston Celtics, which the Bulls, they didn't have the most points in the paint. They ended at 44. I want to see this closer to 50 every single game, in my opinion. If the Bulls can get 50 points in the paint or more, we're looking at this team looking a lot better scoring-wise. And to not get off the slow starts and actually start putting the ball in the basket early on and getting leads, points in the paint is one way you can do that easily. Straight up, just easily. Going to remind everybody that is currently watching, if you could like the stream, I'd appreciate it a lot. If you're new to the channel, I'd appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, like Bulls content, go ahead and subscribe. I'm doing a lot of Bulls content all season. So hit that subscribe button if you want to see more Bulls content. and I'm going to be doing a lot, especially now that I'm on a little bit of a break here from school. So would appreciate if you like the stream, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Appreciate it a lot. Yeah, the Bulls definitely need to start thinking about their offense early on, as they got to do better. They got to execute better. They got to get more points in the paint, and not always look to start shooting the three-point shot early on, which we'd be kind of falling susceptible to. And it's not just Zach, it's everybody. Like, the Bulls got to start getting inside more and scoring layups early on so that it prevents the other team from getting fast break opportunities, and it gets the Bulls off to better starts. Straight up. It's that simple. I already hit the like button. Appreciate it, Magugla. Appreciate that a lot. I need to go get a tissue here and blow my nose. You guys, put in the chat what you guys want to talk about next. I'm gonna let you guys kind of decide the next topic here. So let me know what you guys want to talk about next year when it comes to the Bulls or NBA or anything. Go ahead and leave that in the chat as I go get something. All right. You think Luka is gonna be as good as people hype him up to be? Ooh, that's a good topic, honestly. In my opinion, Viper Strike, I think he is gonna be that good. In my opinion, but is it winning basketball to play so slow with such high usage? So I agree with that. Concern about Luka right now. His high usage rate is ridiculous. But here's my thing. We're seeing right now with Luka at this early stages of his career that he can handle that load like easily, right? He can handle 36 points per game, averaging a triple-double, doing the most shots, being the offense, right? The high usage percentage right now, I honestly think that's because that Mavericks roster is not the best. I think that Mavericks roster, they don't really have a secondary scorer besides some nights Spencer Dinwiddie, but I don't think Spencer Dinwiddie is that reliable. That Mavericks team, they lack wings who can put the ball on the floor and drive to the rim hard or come off down screens and shoot the ball. Like, they lack that. Like, I know Dorian Finney-Smith has improved, but he's mostly just a defender in my opinion. Tim Hardaway Jr. just can't seem to stay healthy, and he's an effective offensive player, but he relies heavily on the catch and shoot ball. Spencer Dinwiddie, I feel like that dude, as much as I love him, he's just too inconsistent in my opinion, and I don't know how much I can rely on him on offense to be like, when Luka's off the floor, can he actually be, the focal point of an offensive team? Which is why I think that Mavericks team is just straight up just using Luka as just the guy and the offense everywhere. And rightfully so. But for Luka to start, I think for him to actually really start winning, I think that losing Jalen Brunson was huge, because we just saw this Mavericks team in the Western Conference Finals. And they had that secondary guy that can, create the shot off the dribble, can run the pick and roll, and kind of at least carry the offense for a minute or two. And even with that guy on that team, we saw Luka be that good. So I personally think Luka's going to be this good and going to get better somehow. I know 2K kind of has him putting up like godlike numbers. I won't be shocked if we see that from him. I personally won't be shocked. I truly won't be shocked if we see like a 36-point season, a point per game season with averaging 11 assists and 9 rebounds. Like, I could definitely see that happening with Luka. But what's going to take for that to actually happen is if he starts getting the right pieces around him. Because the other thing he doesn't really have, I know Christian Wood's a good player, and we thought he had that with Porzingis. He doesn't have a big man that can set the screen for him and also do multiple things, right? So the weapons around Luka right now, they're not the best. They don't fit him 100%. And this Mavericks team, even not, in my opinion, not having the best roster, is this good? I mean, they're 9-7, and I mean, they're 2 games out of first. The Jazz are going to fall, in my opinion, by the way. But I personally think Luka is that guy that we're looking like. Because here's the other thing too with Luka, he's young already. He doesn't rely on his athleticism or his speed or anything to score. He relies on fundamentals and his skill and his dribbling ability, his ability to create space without speed or quickness. He's gonna last a while. Like this play is gonna last for a long time because he's also a big 6'7" point guard and not having to worry about his lack of size kind of screwing him down his career or later in his career. So I personally think Luka is gonna be this good, and we're gonna see even like a next step from him. Probably when he hits like the age 27, 28 mark, when he really starts to use his IQ to really take over games. That's just my opinion. I'd like to hear your opinion, Viper Strike. Do you think he's gonna be? Do you think he's overrated right now, and do you think people are hyping him up too much? I personally don't think he's being hyped up too much. I think we're looking at a dude that is crazy good, crazy good. And easily a Hall of Famer in my opinion when it's all said and done. I'd like to hear your thought on this, Viper Strike, if you don't mind. But one thing I will say is this. I don't know, like, people have kind of put me as a Lonzo Ball hater, or maybe people think I hate the Ball family. I don't hate the Ball family, by the way, and this relates to Luka in a second here. Hard to tell from my perspective. I'm a bit of a layman. Okay, gotcha. I just think Viper, you're gonna see in 2 years, I think, that like you're gonna be like shocked with how Luka is playing, and if he gets the right pieces around him. Because what he's doing already is incredible, in my opinion. It's crazy what we're seeing from him. So when it comes to the Ball family, like, I've had a video on this channel that has had many dislikes because I made a video about Lonzo Ball. About someone tweeted out saying that the Bulls are using Lonzo too much in the pick and roll, or like giving him too many ball handling responsibilities. And here's the thing: I disagree with that tweet, and then I got hate for it, which didn't make any sense to me, in my opinion. I think Lonzo is not a great ball handler in general. He's definitely a little bit too loose with the ball, in my opinion, and he doesn't have the ball handling skills to be like a pick and roll option. Which I just think is straight up facts. I'm not hating on the dude. I just think that's just what he is. But people are gonna come in and, especially the Ball stands, are gonna be like, "How dare you disrespect him?" So when I say this about LaMelo, I'm not trying to disrespect LaMelo. But I remember when people were talking about LaMelo when he was being drafted and how when he got picked with Charlotte, like people are saying like he's gonna put up Luka numbers, right? Because he's gonna average 34 points per game, close to a triple double, shoot 40% for 3-point range, etc. And I've been saying to people like, I don't see that, in my opinion. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think LaMelo is going to come anywhere close to what Luka is going to be, or what even Luka is right now. I think LaMelo's going to be an all-star, but I don't see LaMelo being a Luka Doncic. And they're very similar, big guards, right? But what Luka is on a whole different level, in my opinion. And I'm a fan of LaMelo Ball. I like LaMelo. I just don't think he's going to become a Luka, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on that. I personally just don't see it with LaMelo, and now it seems like the injury bug has also hit LaMelo. It might just be a Ball family thing that they're just never going to be healthy, so we may never know. But I know LaMelo had a great sophomore year. I just personally don't see it, in my opinion, when it comes to LaMelo Ball. I think him and Anthony Edwards, they're going to be kind of like, they're different players. Obviously, one's a point guard, one's a shooting guard. But I just think that those two guys, like people have been saying, like LaMelo's like easily the best player in the draft, and he's gonna have the best career. I think those two guys, we're just gonna be looking at them as like very similar players, where they're great offensively, they're not great defensively. They're gonna be all stars, but they're not really gonna be franchise changing players. Let me know your thoughts on that, because it's something that I've always like wanted to talk with people about. Like, I'm a huge fan of Luka. Maybe this is just the reason why I'm not seeing with LaMelo, but like saying that LaMelo is gonna have like a Luka Doncic type career, I think that's a little much. I just don't see LaMelo having the type of skills with Luka, and LaMelo is a great 3-point shooter, or should be a great 3-point shooter, and Luka isn't that. But what Luka does to score already is incredible in my opinion. So that's just my opinion on it. Easily a stretch. There's some good talent in that 2020 draft. Yeah, there's definitely some good talent. I mean, I know it sucks that the Bulls they didn't get the top 3, but they got Patrick Williams, which not giving him on P. Will. Viper Strick, you agree with me on that one. But yeah, I mean that draft class, man. I mean, we're looking at some crazy talent. And by the way, I said this to some other people, but already. And this is probably the bigger hot take from me. I think Tyrese Halliburton is going to have, or is going to be looked at as the better player than LaMelo, because what Tyrese is what he is right now. I think that's what people thought LaMelo would be right now, right? I think people were looking at LaMelo being like a 20, 24, and 10 guy early in his career. And LaMelo can get there, but what Tyrese Halliburton is a playmaker. I think that he's surpassed LaMelo in that category, and I think Tyrese's ability to score is just going to get better. I know his shot is funky, but that dude, man, like I honestly think Tyrese Halliburton's going to have a better, or be looked at as the better player over LaMelo when they're both in their prime. Yeah, that may be the bigger hot take, I should say, but it just seems to me that when it comes to LaMelo, that I just don't see him really taking that humongous leap to superstardom, which a lot of people think he's going to get to that point. I just think he's going to be an all-star. Tyrese, man, I would build around Tyrese Halliburton, because that guy can do everything on the offensive end, and he's been looking great. Him and Benedict Mathurin might be the backcourt for the Pacers' future. And those two guys are going to be fantastic for the Pacers moving forward. Yeah, 2020 draft class, it is loaded. And I think we're going to be looking at that draft class as one of the better draft classes in recent history. I know James Wiseman's in the G League right now, but I personally think Wiseman's going to figure it out. I think people forget how important chemistry is, and I know James Wiseman's just been kind of sitting there, and he's been on the team for the Warriors, but when you don't play, man, and he didn't play that much his rookie season either, and there's guys that are coming in and out of that Warriors team, and you haven't played with them, it hurts. Like it takes a while to get them all acclimated, and I think Wiseman is going to have a great career, even though he's not off to a great start. Just give him some time, man, and I think we're looking at James Wiseman as like one of the better big men in the league come in five seasons, no matter where he is. Maybe the Warriors give up on him, but I personally don't see the Warriors looking to give up on him. Was it the wrong pick for the Warriors? Maybe, because if they had LaMelo right now, oh boy, if LaMelo was healthy, they would look extremely scary. But in the long run, I don't think that was the wrong pick. For at least, that's just what I think right now. Could be wrong at the end of the day. Other thing I want to talk about is this. Larry Markkanen's having a great season so far, and again, I wish nothing but the best for him. I've talked about this multiple times, I think, but I'm sorry, man. I personally don't see this continuing. Mike Conley is all of a sudden, he's going to be out for a few weeks, and this is just kind of what I said about the Jazz. Like, maybe Markkanen continues to have like, averaging 20 points per game, which he hasn't done yet in his career. Which good for him. I don't see Markkanen, averaging, 25 points per game for the rest of the season. But maybe he averages 20. I just don't think that it's going to continue to go to wins. And I still, I tell people like, February 2019 Markkanen was like the best player ever. So we've seen this before where Markkanen has like these hot streaks and plays well for a month, and we're like, oh, that looked amazing, and then kind of falls back down to earth. Maybe he doesn't necessarily, his scoring doesn't drop off dramatically, but I just don't think this Utah Jazz team is going to continue to win with Markkanen being the guy and the rest of the squad, that doesn't exactly have the best players. Like, Mike Conley going down is huge. Like, I think that's going to really impact this Jazz team. So it's going to be interesting to see how they continue, because I mean, it was fun watching Markkanen and Booker go at it in that game. Like, that was awesome to watch. Like, I that is pure entertainment, and the NBA should love it, and I love it. Like, even as a guy that has been very up and down on Markkanen in his career, but I just don't see this continuing for the Utah Jazz. They're off to a great start, and I congratulate them for that. But I personally just don't see it continuing. But prove me wrong. No, I want you to prove me wrong. Because the other team that was also kind of starting out hot was the Portland Trailblazers. And now Damian Lillard's out again. You're seeing right now, Portland was just in the 1 seed. I know it's very close together and bunched up in the West, but they're down to the 7 seed suddenly. And Lillard might, I don't know, be out for 1 to 2 weeks. So Lillard being out is going to be, I think, kind of huge for this team. But I also just didn't see this team staying, in the top 4 for the rest of the season. I think you're really going to see, like, the Golden State Warriors, they got off to a horrible start, but now they're kind of starting to put it together. I know Klay Thompson just had a great game against the Rockets, but they're going to be back. The Warriors are going to be back. It's just going to happen. But I think you're going to see teams like the Mavericks and the Pelicans and the Grizzlies, like, they're really going to start jumping up here, especially when you hit that 25-game mark. Like, you're going to see them start going up in the standings, and then the Jazz, the Trailblazers, and then and unfortunately the Kings. I think you're going to see them start sliding a little bit. I know the Kings are playing well, but in my opinion, that's not going to last either, because their little hot stretch is very reliant on their best players to continue this level of play. I don't see it. As much as I love De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, they're not going to. I don't think they're not going to continue at this pace, in my opinion. But I think Mike Brown's done a good job in Sacramento, and I'm glad that they're having some fun right now, because that team definitely needs to hit the playoffs at some point. I don't think it's gonna be this year. I think they'll make the play-in, but this year, fortunately, I don't see them making the playoffs. But yeah, that's unfortunate for them. And the other thing is this, man. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the Lakers, they've been without LeBron their past 3 games. And they've won the past 3 games. Anthony Davis all of a sudden looks like Anthony Davis again, where he's averaging like 28 and being effective on both ends of the floor, and being a superstar, which we all expected. Russ, he's stepped up. So, like, I know it's like a couple of games, but, like, I'm just saying here, I'm not fully putting LeBron at fault for the Lakers' struggles, but he needs to take some more blame. The media is not putting enough blame on LeBron James for the Lakers' struggles. Like, they continue to use Russell Westbrook as a scapegoat, as like he's playing bad, he's not the Russ of old, or he's taking ill-advised shots. Like, either way, man, I know he's not the Russell Westbrook of old, but the biggest issue right now is that LeBron continues to try to play as if he's the guy when he's playing, when he's not the guy. He's not the guy anymore on this Lakers squad. It has to be AD. And I think AD's got his criticism where he's like, he's not playing up to par. He's not being the superstar that we expected him to be, which is right. He got that criticism, but then instead it was that Russ is the reason why the Lakers continue to suck. But how about LeBron when it comes to him continuing to take some ridiculous shots. Like, he's shooting like 35 footers when he shouldn't be shooting it. And he continues to dominate the ball when maybe the Lakers should be playing a little bit more in transition, and he kind of slows the game down. LeBron can still be good. He can still be an all-star. He's going to be an all-star this season because the fans are going to vote him in. But he needs to sacrifice for this Lakers team to actually start being a better team. They should be a playoff team, even though they suck right now. But at the end of the day, this Lakers team can't tank. Because guess what? Their pick goes to the Pelicans. And that's the last thing you want to do, is give the Pelicans a top 3 pick in this draft when they're already loaded with talent. That would not be good. That's not something they want to do. So for this Lakers team to get out of being 13th place when they shouldn't be in 13th place to begin with, when LeBron comes back, he needs to sacrifice. It's something that has to happen for this Lakers team to start moving forward in the right direction. Those Father Time LeBron James commercials looking cringe. Yes, they look very, very cringe in my opinion, and not good. They keep disregarding LeBron because of his age or him carrying that team last year, averaging 30.1. Yeah, and look, man, LeBron last year, when he played better, but he was also injured a lot last season. So you can't really blame Russ for last season. Like, I mean, AD and LeBron, they were out for basically half the season last, and like, I mean, what is Russ going to do with the surrounding cast that's not built for him? Now LeBron's out again, and AD's at least still playing, and they look better. So it's just something that I think the media needs to do a little bit better job of. Yeah, not full out start blaming LeBron, not full out bashing him, but they need to say, like, LeBron's partly responsible for the Lakers' struggles. His bad play is part of the reason why the Lakers have sucked so far. And he cannot be looking to carry this team on every single night. And I know that Anthony Davis needs to step up. And guess what? He's done it now. So when LeBron comes back, which should be soon, he needs to play better. And I don't know. Actually, was he playing tonight? I don't even know what they said. Doesn't look like he's playing tonight, but Lakers face the Suns. Maybe LeBron plays tomorrow. So yeah, just something to keep your eye on for this Lakers squad. I'll be interested to see if they do move Russ though at the end of it all, because he is about to hit unrestricted free agency, and maybe they want to get something back for him. Which would be kind of nuts. I just don't see anyone taking his contract, in my opinion. But who knows, man? Maybe they try to do something and try to get something back for him before he just inevitably leaves LA. Which then I'm going to close this out by talking about this situation here for the Bulls. I think it's pretty evident for this Bulls team that the big three of Levine, DeRozan, and Vucevic cannot play together. Right? They're not. This team is not at its best when those three are on the court together. I know that that's the starting lineup. Even with them not being best fit for each other, they still should be a winning team due to just pure talent alone. But this Bulls team needs to make a decision of who they're keeping, or maybe they're getting rid of all three. But in my opinion, you're keeping it. You're keeping somebody. And I mean, I think the obvious choice is Zach, because you just paid him the max deal. Unfortunately, he's also the guy that has the most value out of the three, even on his max contract. Which that max contract is not going to look like people think that's going to kill the Bulls down the stretch. Like, I swear to God, people are going to look at that contract as being like nothing in 2 seasons, because the salary cap just continues to go up. So that max deal is going to look at as like almost a bargain, I swear to God, in a couple of seasons. So the thing is, though, is this. The Bulls have to make a decision with Vucevic. Before the season started, I said that I wouldn't mind seeing Vucevic kind of re-signing on a 1-year deal for next season, because when he hits free agency after this season. Because if you look at the center market for free agency and next offseason, it's not much. There's not really anybody out there that can kind of provide much of anything for the Bulls. But my stance on that has suddenly shifted, because I think that Andre Drummond deal Just saying, it's like not something to kind of look over. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bulls front office is like Drummond might be the guy that they roll with as the center for the future, and I wouldn't be shocked if they trade Vucevic at the trade deadline here, so that they can at least get something back for him before he hits free agency. Because Vucevic is probably looking to get paid some decent money. Not saying it's a lot, and the Bulls have the ability to re-sign him for whatever he wants. But he might also look for an opportunity where he's more of the offense, where he's not the third option, where he's at least the second option. And maybe a team that is kind of on the weaker side, or the not so good side, goes and pays him to be the focal point of an offense again. But you might want to do that. So because of that, I think it might be in the Bulls' best interest to actually trade Vooch at the deadline here. Again, though, that doesn't mean the Bulls are going to start tanking, right? Just because they trade one of the big three doesn't mean they're tanking. But you get value back for Vooch before he hits unrestricted free agency. And in my opinion, he's probably looking to go somewhere else. I know he's kind of talked about how he's like this time in Chicago, but there's no guarantee when an unrestricted free agent that isn't going to be making max money and you're not going to pay a max contract is a free agent. So let me know your thoughts on that. I could see this Bulls team looking to move Vucevic at the trade deadline. Package him with Kobe White, maybe get some picks back in return. But I would more so look at try to get some quality players more on the younger side to help this team now, but also help this team in the future. And not necessarily picks. I know Bulls fans continue to always look at picks and kind of freak out, but it is something that I think this Bulls team is going to be looking at the trade deadline. Not saying it's guaranteed, but for a guy that's about to be, unrestricted free agent, you may not want to risk just letting him go for nothing. So getting some value back in return might be a decent option. So something to consider for this Bulls team, but that's something that we're going to be looking at down the road. And that's something that we need to be considering right now. But keep in mind that the Bulls do have some free agents this upcoming offseason. Vucevic is obviously one, Kobe White's another, Javonte Green's another person, and obviously Io. But I expect Io to easily be re-signed because he's a restricted free agent. But it might be something to look at for this front office if they want to move on from him. So yeah, we'll see. You like Vooch a lot personally. He's your favorite of the big three. Viper. Yeah. And here's the thing. I'm not saying I dislike Vooch, but the big three can't play together. Like right now, the big three, it just doesn't work. I mean, if you actually look at the Bulls' net rating with just those three in the lineup, it isn't good. Levine and DeRozan currently, when you pair those two together, they're like a -12, I think, in net, which is obviously horrible. I mean, let me just look at this now, honestly. It's so interesting to see that the best players just for some reason, man, they just can't figure it out. Which last season I was like, okay, you know what, it's fine. They're playing together for the first time, but now it's starting to get to the point where I'm like, okay, no, I don't think they can play together. Yeah, it's just so interesting to me. Let's see if I can figure this out. That's not it. So we do three player lineups. Right now, DeRozan, Vucevic, and Levine, they're a -7.7. That's just unreal, right? You're talking about your best three players. They're a -7.7 right now. That just can't continue. Yeah, it's honestly just mind-boggling just to kind of see this. But you see these other lineups out here, like Zach, Caruso, and Dragic, +10.3. Obviously, these, very limited time, so these don't count. But I have all these like net ratings, man. Like the ones that let me put in a filter here of like see here. I want to can I actually do that? Doesn't actually look like I can do that. Maybe I could do this. I want to put in the minutes so it's at least like nope, never mind. I guess not. But you just look at this, man, like it doesn't look good. Maybe it's greater than or equal to. Let's just do 25 minutes. Okay. Like the best lineups are when there's like only one of the big three out there. Or maybe it's two. Maybe it's DeRozan, maybe it's DeRozan and Vooch, or maybe it's Zach and Vooch. Like it's so evident that the big three, no matter what lineup it is, they don't work. They just don't work together. I see a lot of people talk about Vooch for Miles Turner. I know that's been a big topic of discussion, and I understand it. I just think Miles Turner is a little bit overrated. But he obviously helps his team because his shot blocking is huge, and then I think he's a little bit more consistent 3-point shooter than Vooch, which would help this team a lot because his Bulls team obviously needs 3-point shooting. But what you start missing then is the inside presence because he's not a post-up player. So what do you value more? I'd probably take Miles Turner over Vooch, but then I just don't want a straight up swap. I would want a little bit more if I'm doing that trade. By the way, for all the people that are saying like, hey, the Bulls should have given up a first-round pick for Jeremy Grant or a first-round pick for Miles Turner, how do they match contracts if you just send a pick out? A lot of people have been saying this about the Bulls should have just traded a first for Jeremy Grant. I'm like, hey, I agree with you. I think I would love to do that, but how do you get Jeremy Grant on the team? How do you get Miles Turner on the team? They're both making big money, like around $20 million. Miles Turner's around 17. Jeremy Grant's about 20. Like, I don't understand why people think, hey, we can just absorb a Jeremy Grant contract or absorb a Miles Turner contract. Hello, we're over the cap. How do you match those contracts? The only reason why Portland was able to do such a thing was because they had a $20 million traded player exception that they could absorb Jeremy Grant's contract into. That's the reason why they only gave up a first. They didn't have to give up anything else, but the Bulls don't have that. So you have to match the contracts to do such a thing. That would require for Detroit, if you trade for Grant, it would require Kobe White and Patrick Williams and probably someone else. Which then at that point, I'm not giving up a first, right? So just keep that in mind. When it comes to Miles Turner, if you send out Vooch, that makes sense. That works contractually. But if I'm adding in someone else, like a Buddy Hield, for example, Bull Central YouTube, who by the way does good videos, but I called him out on Twitter for this. He was saying that the Bulls should trade 2 first-round picks for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. I'm like, hey, I agree with you. I would do that in a heartbeat. But how do you get the $40 million that those two players are making on this Bulls team? How do you match contracts? Because if you set out Vooch, it doesn't work. You're still missing $20 million. And I've gone through this before, but it would require a lot of salary moving, and the amount of salary for some of these guys that are making, like, I'm not giving up Alex Caruso in that trade. So because I'm not giving up Alex Caruso, then you have to throw in Patrick Williams and Kobe White for that, and I'm like, I'm not doing that deal. And even then, the money doesn't work. You have to throw in Tony Bradley and other people too. So yeah, I would do a Miles Turner and Buddy Hield for 2 first-round picks, but at the end of the day, the Bulls wouldn't be giving up that. They'd be giving up 2 first-round picks and more to make that sort of deal work. So yeah, just keep it involved. Glad I caught the stream before it was over so we could talk about the odd little period where Zach refused to throw into the big man. What was all that about? Francisco, so there was a period of that, but I thought that was the entire Bulls team that wasn't looking to throw it to Vooch. But I talked about this earlier, like, when Vooch has a mismatch or when Vooch is looking to post up, the strong side has to clear out. And if Zach's looking to throw it in, the guy in the corner where Vooch is posting up has to clear out of the way, and it's hard for anybody to throw that pass into a post-up position. So, I mean, yeah, part of it is on Zach because he wasn't exactly looking, but it's also on the rest of the guys to make sure that they open up the post up pass for Vooch. So it's on everybody, in my opinion. Definitely it falls a little bit on Zach, but yeah, there needs to be a better awareness of the team to get Vucevic the right spacing to post up effectively. I'm gonna pull up here. What is it here? I'm gonna pull up like a clipboard for players like on the court here. Give me a second. I want to show you what I'm talking about here. So let's just do this, for example. Can I flip this? Let's see. I did this before. I don't know why I'm struggling all of a sudden to figure this out. Oh, here you go. All right. So, I have some of the stuff here. All right. Let's just do Bulls in red, opposing team in black. Okay. So, this is Zach. He's the 2 guard. All right. And you typically see like a setup like this here for the Bulls when they post up Vucevic. So, let's say Zach has the ball over here, right? What was happening a lot was this, okay? This is what you want to see if the Bulls are looking to post up Vooch. You clear out everybody. You put your best shooter next to Vucevic on the strong side, which is Zach, and you throw the ball into Vooch, okay? This is what you want. But what was starting to happen was, let's take Patrick Williams. We saw P. Will was also on the side of the ball. So Zach's looking to throw the ball into Vucevic here. Well, P. Will's man can come in and steal this, right? That's not going to work. So this was an issue that I was seeing consistently through the game, where it's like, hey, Vooch has good post position, or Vooch has a mismatch, right? Let's switch 1 and 5 here for a second, right? Vooch has a point guard on him. Get the ball to him. Well, if you're Patrick Williams in this situation, you got to clear out. I don't care how you do it. Ideally, you go through the baseline and just completely get out of the way. But you got to get out of here, right? Because Zach is looking to throw this ball here. But if you're here, then this ball's getting stolen, or Zach doesn't have an easy entry pass. It's something that this Bulls team, like, it's not just Zach or whoever has the ball has to be aware of Vooch with the mismatch. It's on everybody to be like, okay, mismatch on the floor, Vucevic is posting up. Where do I go to open up Vucevic for the post up? And in this case, P. Will, you got to clear out. Get your defender out of here. Ideally, you go this way, because if you cut towards the rim, you become a threat. If you, like this, the other way is to go up here, which is fine. That you go up to the top of the key, but you're not much of a threat out here. You're not a 3-point shooter, right? So, if in my opinion, if you see this, and Zach's trying to post up the ball to Vucevic, whoever's here, whether it's Io, I don't care. He will go cut hard baseline, become a threat to the rim, so you take your defender and he has to guard you and clear out. Then on this side of the floor, this needs to get a little bit better, because you kind of see something like this start happening. What I want to see here is Kumar, you cut hard to the rim after Vucevic catches the ball. Hopefully that draws in Patrick Williams' defender, and then Williams, you flash out here the wing on the 3-point line. That's what I think needs to happen a little bit more. But that's when Vooch catches the ball. That's something different. But again, just to review, like, when Vucevic has that mismatch and you see Zach trying to throw, or whoever it is, try to throw the ball into Vooch in the post, this person right here, this person needs to get out of the way. Just straight up, you have to get out of the way. Because we've seen it so many times where the Bulls, they actually try to throw entry passes into the post, but it's not a good angle, one, or it's too crowded. This right here creates crowding. And it's on this person to clear out. And I've saw this too many times where I'm like, get out of the way, move, leave. But we didn't see that, right? He will, get out of here. It's Vucevic. Vucevic has a mismatch. Get out of the way. Zach, throw it in. That's how you get good entry passes into the post, which is a lost art in today's game. It straight up is, which is stupid in my opinion. I don't know why all of a sudden, AAU teams are not teaching these kids how to throw in entry passes into the post. It's something that's just gone. But as you see here, the post-up's effective still. It's still very effective. And we gotta take advantage of when it's there. Yeah. And it's also like, it's not just the Bulls in trying to find Vooch. I think Vucevic has to do a little bit better job of looking to score first. He's such a willing passer in the post, and I get it because he's very skilled down there, and he can find open guys very effectively in the post. But if you have a mismatch, and then even if the double's coming, like, I want to see Vooch still try to look to score first, then pass first. Because even in this situation, for example, where it's like, oh, mismatch, okay, whoever comes to double, whether it's this guy right here, or this guy over here, or whoever, like, Vooch is still taller than all of them. Score. It's when I want to see you pass is when you're forced back out, like you're all of a sudden now you're dribbling back out onto the perimeter. That's when you have to start passing the ball, which Vooch does a great job at doing. But score first, then pass it if you're really starting to get doubled. That's what I think Vooch needs to get a little bit better. If he does that, man, I mean, we're looking fine on the offensive end. But again, first things first, how do you get the ball to him? Clear out the side. Get him open space and room to operate and catch the ball cleanly. That's step one. Everything else will take care of itself after that. But step one just seems to be a hard part right now for the Bulls because players are not recognizing, hey, my defender's in the way of a post-up pass. Let me get out of the way. Just, like, I think this is also something of, like, having some young players out on the court, like Io and P. Will. They're not always seeing this, right? They're not always aware of this. That comes with time. Playing in the NBA for a while, you'll get used to it. But right now, they're young. They're having some growing pains. Like, this will come with time, and they'll be just fine. And it probably will get better throughout the season as chemistry is formed. But yeah, this is the next step for this Bulls team to get Vooch the ball when he has a mismatch down low. It's gotta be quick, because if you don't do it quick, I'm telling you, man, they're gonna switch. Because if you don't get this ball in quickly, you're gonna see these guys start crowding in early, and then you throw it back out, they're already back out here. You gotta get the ball to him quickly so you can take advantage of that mismatch quickly. Yeah. That's to answer your comment, Francisco. Hope I'm saying that right. Glad you got the stream. Glad to see you here. I appreciate you guys watching. So yeah. Before I end the stream, I said this in my last stream when the Bulls lost to the Magic, but I said this to whoever's still watching. I have started thinking about making like a gaming channel. So I'm not exactly the biggest gamer in the world, but I do play NBA 2K, but I'm also pretty big on Valorant, and other games as well. So something that I'd be interested in doing. If you guys are interested in watching that sort of content, let me know. Give me some suggestions on that sort of stuff as well. But something I want to do with my friends, because they're also starting to get into that field as well, and I think it'd be fun. But let me know any suggestions you guys have on that. But before I end the stream, if you could hit that like button, that helps the stream a lot, helps my channel a lot. And if you're new to the channel and like Bulls content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I am making Bulls content throughout the entire season and also into the off season, specifically this season. So yeah, go ahead and do that. If you're new to the channel, or if you're new to my content, here is my Twitter account. I always am live tweeting in every single Bulls game, so if I don't have any Bulls content on my YouTube channel, I will always be having analysis on every single game here, so go follow that if you haven't already. And then I do have a blog that has some of my written content, so here's a link to that as well in the chat. If you want to see some of my written content, here it is. My latest blog, this was actually a really fun one. I'm a huge Nate Robinson fan. He's honestly the reason why I got into watching the Bulls. But I went through and kind of gave my top 5 Stacey King nicknames for the Bulls. And you can go read the rest of it here. But number 1 was Nate Robinson and Mr. Excitement. That was easily one of the best nicknames that Stacey King has ever made up. So go check this out. I think a lot of Bulls fans would like this sort of content, because Stacey King has come up with so many great nicknames, but Mr. Excitement has to be my favorite easily, and it's probably because I'm such a Nate fan. But this right here, man, this was a really fun time for me, watching Nate Robinson and Mr. Excitement go off. Just a great nickname by Stacey King. You can read the rest here on my blog, so go check that out. I think you guys are gonna like that a lot. But that's gonna do it for me, guys, for this stream. Bulls versus Celtics post game. The Bulls are obviously taking on the Milwaukee Bucks next, which is a very tough matchup. But all I ask for this Bulls team is stay in this game. I don't expect the Bulls to win this game. I really don't. But stay in this one. Stay in this game. I don't want to see this Bulls team get down by double digits in this one. Stay in this game, and I'll be pleased. And stopping Giannis is impossible. Don't worry about that. Just do everything else that you can control, and you're going to stay in this game. And I think that's going to be extremely important. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Appreciate you guys watching and everything. Yeah, and look out for post-game stream after this one as well. Happy holidays to everybody that celebrates. I know that's also happening, so fun time of the year, in my opinion, as well. Magugla, appreciate you. Good night. Viper Strike, appreciate the comment as well about the gaming channel. So yeah, I'll definitely look into it. Is it Gaudier? Hope I'm saying that right. Gaming channel sounds fun. Will be nice. And thank you for watching. Yeah, I'll be looking into that as well. All right, guys. See y'all on the next one. Big Bulls win. Hopefully, they continue this good level of play here and now. See you guys in the next one. Peace.